Are you looking for more out of your life? Do you need ideas on how to start new businesses and how to move forward in your own personal life? Well, guess what? You have come to the right radio show. At You Can Overcome Anything podcast show, you will learn and hear from many people from all walks of life who are sharing their challenges, their stories, the habits, and the mind shifts they had to overcome to become who they are today. On top, you will get a chance to connect and see how you can overcome anything by networking and learning about your next move through this radio show. I present to you our great speakers at You Can Overcome Anything podcast show with your host, Cesar Espino. Hey there, welcome back to another episode of You Can Overcome Anything podcast show. It is your host, Cesar Respino, and today I have a special guest. His name is Eddy Miranda. What's up, Eddy?
How you doing, man? How's everything?
I'm doing good, man. I'm doing good. Thank you for being here today. Before we dive in, I want to give the listeners a little bit of your background, and then we can kind of get to know you much more deeper. So Eddy Miranda is an entrepreneur, network marketer, and coach. Before network marketing, Eddy was the founder of Deep Design Studios, a graphic marketing and website freelance agency, and a Pro League News, which is the fastest growing professional bodybuilding news platform. Pro League News was acquired for $50,000 in December of 2020 after he decided to make the switch to network marketing full-time after COVID hit. Since then, him and his wife had been able to grow their organization to 18,000 plus in just 1 year, and he has helped other network marketers achieve the same success they've had without using any traditional network marketing methods and being completely online. Cool, man. That's awesome, man. That's definitely pretty cool, and I definitely want to get to know more about that journey because I'm sure, as many of us, as you know, with COVID, there were so many different things. People got hit left and right, and I always tell people that you had to strategize and you had to come up with new ideas or new different things to kind of survive that. And whether that was the case for you or not, at the end of the day, COVID hit many different people, and you have to come up with new ideas. You have to come up with different things to get adjusted to the change, right? More than anything.
Yeah, 100%.
So
yeah,
tell me
so,
more.
I mean, yeah.
Tell me more about you. Tell me more about what were you born in, or what's your upbringing like?
Yeah. So I was born and raised in Miami, Florida. My parents were fully Cuban. They were the ones that migrated to Chicago without having to jump on a boat. So they flew before that even happened. They got married, they moved down here. And yeah, I literally lived in Miami my entire life. Catholic upbringing, we had I would say a very decent life. But at the age of 14, my mom had passed away from a tumor. And I think that's when my life kind of got rocked a little bit, right? Still went through everything. And life did throw me a lot of curveballs ever since then. I was always the kind of person that was like, free flowing. I was a party kid, went to the nightclubs in Miami type of person. And then at the age of 25, I had to come to the realization, and, am I really, what am I really doing in my life? I was jumping from job to job. I was, trying to figure stuff out, especially after 2008. I had a hard hit and lost everything in my life at that point. Was divorced, lost my girlfriend, a whole bunch of stuff at that time. And, that was a really pivotal point in my life. I think by like 2011, I found a church here called Calvary Chapel of Kendall in Miami. And basically, that's what's really started changing my life around, my perspective about everything and what I do. I got hired by the church and basically I got hired because I had graphic design background. I was doing graphic design since I was like 18. And I so happened to be starting the lighting department inside of the actual church itself, which I had no previous experience. So I got hired for those two things. I built the entire lighting department to being one of the most reputable lighting departments in the church industry.
Mm.
And when I was working there, I actually started Dean Design Studios. So I started picking up clients and everything like that. And I found a niche because I was heading into wanting to be, more confident in the way I look, being more healthy and things like that. So I started going into the health the health niche, and I started, getting clients. One of my clients was like, "Eat Me Go Free, Be Force Band." So I started going into like that whole fitness area while I was still working at the church. Now in 2015, the Dean Designs did so well that I was able to leave the church and start going on my own. Like I always wanted, I didn't want to be working 9 to 5 for somebody for the rest of my life. I always wanted to work for myself. So I was able to have that opportunity, and it went really, really well. And in the interim of me doing that, I started doing, bodybuilding competitions, and I started doing all that stuff. And then that's where kind of like Men's Physique News and Pro League News happened. It was in the middle of 2016. I was at a friend's gym brand opening and having a discussion with one of my buddies. And basically, it happened that, I started looking into things, and I'm like, all these news platforms, like from the bodybuilding industry, really didn't capture what was happening right then and there. It's like, if news is happening right there. They would be posting pictures from a week out or 2 weeks out, and like nothing would be,
Mhm.
as it was happening. And then, I did notice that like social media in the industry were really kind of like wasn't up to par, and the athletes weren't getting the recognition. So I was like, okay, let me see if I could start this, and then it started blowing up. 2016, I went to the Mr. Olympia for the very first time ever, and I was able to cover it unofficial. um, and then in 2017, it really started to take off. So I started putting more time into that than my graphic design and my marketing business. All the way to the very end. I built so many relationships with so many athletes that I was like, okay, like, I see something happening here. Like, this is something that's like insane. The growth that's happening with this page, the recognition that's happening with this page. So I was like, let me just move to California, to see if I could make this, because that's where all the athletes hang out. They all hang out like in Southern California.
Mm.
So at the end of 2017, me and my wife flew to San Diego to meet with a friend, and we found out that we were pregnant. And it was like Halloween week when we found out that we were pregnant. But at the end of that year, we found out that, like, yeah, I have to move. And if I'm going to make a decision to move, it's either I bite the bullet and still stay in Miami, or I really go on this journey and be like, okay, I really want to go to California and pursue this. So we picked up everything, sold everything, hitched up the car, drove cross country, went to California. We were there for 8 months, had our son in June, and that's when things got a little bit more complicated, because I couldn't dedicate the same amount of time, right, to everything that I was doing. So in September of that year, we covered the Mr. Olympia for the very first time officially, because we had gotten so much reputation through the industry that they're like, yeah, we want you to cover the show, that when we were driving back, we had to make a decision. It was like, we had no friends and family. We had, nobody to help us out with our first son. And we were like, okay, let's just move back to Miami and have the family and friends, because if we're going to be traveling and all this stuff, that we're going to have people to take care of. So I dropped all my money into the move back home, literally zero to my name when we got back to Miami. Stayed at my grandmother's house for about 2 weeks until we moved into our apartment. And as I was doing the budgets for the actual news page, I was like, there's no way that I could financially keep this up. It's traveling to all these shows and having sponsors attached, that I wasn't going to be in a position. I was going to be losing money. So I was like, I'm going to take the bullet for my family. I'm like, I'm not going to be pursuing this as much anymore. And I started going back into trying to find graphic design clients and all that stuff. I even went into drop shipping, but but my wife wanted to go onto her own journey at that time. And when we got back, she had a 9 to 5. She completely hated it, and she's like, I want to do network marketing full time.
Mm.
Right. So I was like, look, if this is what you really want to do, because you want to stay at home with our son, then I'm backing you up 100%. Leave the job that you're at and go network marketing full time. because I was already starting to get the finances back a little bit. Um, so she did that, and then she begged and pleaded for me to like, hey, I really want you to be a part of this. I really want you to be a part of this. And I was like the typical husband, boyfriend that's like, no, like it's a scam, it's this and that, everything like that.
Right.
And but the thing is that we were with an upline that was very, very successful. They made a living off of this, so I know that it was possible, right? But the thing is that when the more we got into the business, the more we started listening to our uplines, like everything that our upline was telling us to do wasn't working. And me coming from a marketing background, I'm like, there's something wrong here. Like there has to be something more to this puzzle that we're not seeing. And I started doing my research, and I started finding people that were doing this stuff online. Like they weren't talking to people; they were just creating content. They were just doing, all this stuff. And I came to realize that our upline wasn't even telling us what they were really doing. Like through all this research, I started finding all this stuff. So I started going back, and I'm like, man, our upline's doing completely opposite of what they're telling us to do. And that kind of hurt me, because I'm like, at the end of the day, we should be in the business to be able to help each other out, right? Like this is what it's about. Like you're supposed to duplicate stuff to people down. So I had a chip on my shoulder about that, and I was like, babe, like, we're not making any money off of this company. We already know the reputation. We've already tried the marketing tactics, going against what our upline was telling us to do and stuff. It was working, but because of the company we were with, they weren't, joining us. So I was like, there's this brand new company that came out. It's doing really, really well. And she was like very hesitant about it because it wasn't inside of the fitness niche, which was where we came from. And I go, look, I'm going to pay your way in. Let's do it. We're not going to be listening to our upline. In fact, I don't even care who we sign up under. I really don't, because we're going to be doing stuff our own way. I know how to do marketing. We know how to brand ourselves because we've done it with Men's Physique News. I know this stuff. So we got into the new business, and in the first couple months we were like exploding, like it was going nuts. She was like, oh my god, we made more money in a month than we made in our entire life cycle with the first company.
Wow.
So she was already seeing like the benefits of this. So we ran with it. We ran with, starting to, brand her. We started, doing YouTube channels. We started, creating funnels, systemizing our stuff and everything like that. And in the interim, my graphic design company was starting to explode again. And then Men's Physique News was starting to come back into the picture. In the beginning of 2020, we had, we were like, okay, we need to move into a house because we were living in an apartment, and we need to make a studio and all this stuff. And we made the move. It was in February. And I remember I dedicated like an entire month to like a show that was coming up, which was called the Arnold Classic. And did all the interviews, and I threw all my clients to the side because I was focused on this. We went to the show, we covered it, we came back, complete lockdown. That's when the whole thing with COVID started happening. They almost didn't even have the Arnold Classic because of it. But we came back a week later, everything got locked down. And because of that, my revenue went from $8,000 a month to absolute zero, in a matter of a day, because all my clients were gyms and they were retail clients and stuff like that. So literally one call after another, it's like, hey, I can't pay you anymore. There's no marketing. We're closing down, this and that. So I literally lost all my finances overnight. And then of course, bodybuilding got shut down. So I'm like, okay, like what am I going to report on? Everybody working on their home, like there wasn't a lot. And I wasn't making any finances off of it. So it really didn't appeal to me to keep on. So I was like, babe, that's it. Like, I'm just going to switch to network marketing because it's at home. You're still growing. In fact, she even grew. She replaced my salary, because of it. And we're just going to stick with it. So, I started training her team. I started doing courses. I started doing products. I started doing all that stuff. And I'm not going to lie. For me personally, it was a hard time because I was so used to bringing in all the finances that my finances stopped, and I'm trying to how can I say recreate myself all over again through this whole new experience. And towards the end of last year, is when everything started changing. I personally got a coach. I started a coaching program, and now I was able to start helping more people, and our business is still thriving. Through COVID, we were able to get our earned car. We were able to become founders in the company. We got the company share. And by the end of completing 1 year in the business, which was October 2020, we had about 1,800 people inside our organization, which was like, we barely had 7 in the other company before.
Yeah.
So, now I've transitioned into helping other people inside network marketing because, I hear it from everybody, even potential clients. It's like, hey, I'm still being taught how to spam people. I'm still being taught on, cold messaging. I'm still being taught to go after friends and family. And, with the situations I've been through, it's been my heart now to be like, I need to be able to help these people because they're just being taught the wrong things. And I think that that's why network marketing itself as a whole has a bad rap, because you have all these people teaching all the wrong methods, and having no chance for success. That I want people to have a fighting chance to be in this business, because it's so lucrative for so many people, especially with what's happening now. The fact that nobody could work at brick and mortars anymore. Nobody's going, like, I see for hire signs all over the place because nobody wants to work for somebody else. Everybody wants to work for themselves, and everything's transitioning to a network marketing MLM model because it's just so much more lucrative for so many different people.
Yeah, and a lot of times with the MLMs, I mean, I've been very involved. I've been involved in plenty of them, and obviously, I'm not really in any of them now. Maybe one, if I can remember. Except a lot of times on the MLMs, they have some of them have really good products, right? And so I think that's where I think really entices people to come into that environment. I think you're right though, and you hit it off, and that's what has been part of your success, is that you might have a good product, yet the training or how to showcase the product or how to work through all of that, I think that's the missing link. That's where I think many, at least in my experience being in many of them, you don't really get so much of that proper training, or how to not only maybe ask people to, hey, you should be part of this organization with me, also how to go out and sell the product. Some of those products can be pretty expensive depending on the network marketing that you're in, for you as even just for yourself, or even for the people that want to buy into that, right? So let me ask you this, like, I just want to take it back a little, because that was kind of interesting to hear. So your mom passed when you were about 14 years or so, right? And you said that was difficult on your part. How, I guess my question to you is, like, growing up and at that time being in high school or so, like, how do you deal with something as big as that to kind of help you stay focused to an extent, or did you deviate it from that? Because I can see something like that as big as that can really take you down and probably take you down their own path.
Yeah. So, the way I'm mourned about that, I kept a lot to myself. I still remember the day, like, I was at my grandmother's house and all the family members were over. Everybody was crying, but then I wasn't the one that crying. I was like holding my own. I was just like trying to, I guess, not think about it as much. But I do remember a month later, because I went to school at the same place where we had like the whole funeral service and everything like that. And I remember going to church that day, and I was looking down the aisle, and I just like broke down, right? And for me, it's like I internalize a lot of things. I keep things to myself until it's at the breaking point that it just burst, and that's basically what happened to me. And then after that, it's basically was just like a whole transition on like just trying to eat on 14. I'm trying to figure life without my mom, right? So it was really, really hard because she was an ethical backbone to the family. She was the sunshine. She was the one that kept everything in order, and it was really difficult to get past that, because it was just a situation that basically I basically diverted from everything. Like, I started changing my perspective about things. I started getting into a little bit more trouble. Like, and it took me a couple years to get to that point. Like, I was like the kind of person that I was always scared of drugs. And then here you see me at 17, like doing ecstasy and going to parties and doing all this stuff. because I was trying to hide the feeling, you know. So it just ended up becoming like you know, a band-aid, you know, going through that entire situation, which was really really tough for me, you know. And I still deal with it till this day, you know, because again, it was such a I was such a young kid when it happened, and the way it kind of happened. I mean, even the situation on how we even received the news. My dad was literally about to hand her divorce papers the same day that they found out the news that
Oh,
she had the
wow.
tumor. You know, so yeah, it's been rocky, nonetheless, but it's definitely something that I always know that she's behind me as my guardian angel. Like I've gotten into so many situations that I probably would have died or been left homeless or whatever, but I always come out, you know, and I think that she's behind me every single step of the way. And that's what I have to remind myself with everything. And I think that that's what helps me keeps me with a little bit of closure at the end of the day, that I know that she's behind me with everything I do. In
Right.
fact, you know, even my relatives are like, man, you have so much of your mom inside of you that you just don't know. And I wish I would have known her for longer,
Right.
you know, so I could get to know her more. Because you only know your parents so much, or talk so deeply with your parents when you're at that age. So I wish that she was around when I was 20 and have like deep conversations with her, you know?
Right. I mean, in every stage of your life, you know, as a kid, you know, teenager, early 20s, 30s, like every stage of your life is a different experience, right? And there's different lessons that we learn from our parents, and definitely can see that. How was your relationship with your dad? You know, helping you through the time of you mourning your mom's loss.
So yeah, I think that that's when I really started seeing my dad's true colors, right? When my mom passed away, I was in a custody battle, right, between a lawyer and him, and then my mom left me an inheritance from her life insurance, and I didn't know what was going on, but like when I was like 18, 19, I looked back at what happened and saw the documents and everything like that. But you know, my dad was in a battle to like try to fight, to try to get the money that I had, and believe it or not, within I would say like within 6 months, he was already dating the lawyer that was part of my custody battle.
Yeah.
You know, you know, so I was already like, okay, like, you know, I'm still here like thinking about my mom, and then you're already dating somebody, like, you know, it hasn't even healed yet. You
Yeah.
know. So like really started to find out like what, you know, what kind of person my dad was. And I would say like ever since then, like it's become more and more and more rocky, because you know, just a couple years after my mom passed away, he actually got put into jail because he was trying to take the money from one account to another, and all of a sudden the money disappeared somewhere, right?
Right.
So then like now our family had to bend over backwards in order to refinance the houses and to get them back and everything like that. And you know, I started seeing some stuff happening around the house. Like I remember one time I asked for a credit card. I got approved for the credit card, but I never saw the credit card.
Oh man. Yeah.
And then like a couple of years later, I'm like they're like trying to get a card. They're like, oh yeah, you owe this, that you. I'm like, I've never had a credit card. And as I started doing the investigating, it was like he got the credit card and he tried to start a couple businesses with it, and he was, you know, like, and all of a sudden I'm like looking at the list and I'm like, that's in the backyard, that's here, that, like, so he literally took the credit card and started. So I started losing a lot of trust with my dad as
Yeah.
the years went by, because I started seeing he started doing a whole lot of shady stuff, not only with myself, but with family members too. Like, you know, refinancing their house, taking all the money, you know, like nobody in my family wanted to even talk to him, see him, because of the situations that they did with either him or with my grandmother or with my mom, or, you know, things like that. Like nobody in my family liked him. And I started feeling the exact same way, to the point that I pretty much extradited him from my life. Like I
Mhm.
didn't want anything to do with him whatsoever, you know,
Right.
until recently.
Yeah. Yeah. Now talking about you know, kind of getting to the parties and the drugs and all that stuff. One thing that came to mind is that a lot of times, and I want to know if this was kind of like part of it for you. A lot of times people are looking for the acceptance of, in this case, I don't have my mom, maybe my relationship with my dad is not too good. And so you're looking for the acceptance, you're looking for that tribe. And so then you
Mhm.
therefore end up getting involved with the incorrect or wrong associations, or as you said, you want to numb the pain by getting high and getting drunk and all that stuff. And so sometimes we get so hung up on that right there that can really take us out of proportion in terms of where we're going to be going in the near future. um, you did mention that you obviously you were doing some of those things to kind of help numb the pain. Was that also part of an acceptance because your mom was gone, your dad was probably rocky in that sense, and so you were looking for that people acceptance to an extent that you were hanging around with a particular crowd or doing certain things with different people?
Yeah, and like, yeah, I definitely got attached to a wrong crowd. And yeah, I definitely felt like I wanted to be accepted somewhere. That's 100%, because I remember, like, I even went on a journey of wanting to become a DJ, and I was doing that for years. But my main thing was that I wanted to be, on something that basically I do something and people in a crowd react to, right?
Mm,
That was like a major thing. And because, yeah, again, it was like the acceptance. Like, I want to be the in crowd. I want to be, the person that drove to the club with the nicest BMW. I wanted to be around that. But then in the interim, I ended up being around the wrong people that all they did was just drag my life down worse than where it was, and getting me into situations that I should have never been into,
yeah.
right? So, yeah, definitely acceptance, and definitely trying to mask pain, for sure. That's 100%.
Right. Now, and then you talked about finally having that kind of turning point, when you're 20, 21, 22, give and take, and you're working or found a church. What was it though? If you can go more deeper into that, like what was that? Obviously, you're here questioning yourself, like, what am I going to do with my life and all these different things, right? What was that turning point though in your head? What was that big moment where you're like, you know what? If I continue to go this route, I'm really gonna mess up my life, or if I continue to go this route, I'm gonna change it. Because I believe that, and I've learned this, obviously throughout the years. In my early years, for me, I've made a lot of I won't say mistakes because I don't think we make any mistakes. I think I've learned a lot. There's very many different lessons that I've taken from my life, things that maybe I should have never done in my life, right? And I believe that the decisions and the choices that we make today will determine the quality of life that we have tomorrow. So you're at that point where, like, I have to decide, I have a choice, because that is going to determine my life for tomorrow. What was that pivotal moment for you, specifically, that got you over that?
Yeah, no, I remember the exact day. So it was my 25th birthday. Um, I had just finished losing everything because of 2008. So I think this was like 2009 when this all happened. I moved into an ex-fling's apartment because I got kicked out of my dad's house because I didn't have because I lost everything. I didn't have a job. I didn't have anything. So he's like, look, you've been here for 4 months. Get out. So she was so gracious to let me in. And I was like, I'm going to go out and party for my 25th birthday. I'm a quarter century years old. I'm going to go party. I'm going to go do this. And I went out with one of my friends, and I remember I got so hammered that I made a complete fool of myself at the club, right?
Mm,
Like, I would go up to the DJ, I knew the DJ, I'm like, hey, let me play, this and that, because he knew me from the scene before. And I put myself in a situation that I felt like I completely embarrassed myself. So then when I came home, I was so wrecked. Had gotten into a fight with the guy that had taken me there and everything like that. And I woke up the next day completely useless because of all just the hangover itself. You know, um, I just couldn't move for the entire day. And then there is when I was like, is this really what my life is going to be about? Am I really going to be, you know, drinking and then waking up in the morning, not able to do anything, right?
mhm.
I literally just lost an entire day of I could be doing something else. something impactful, something, So I was like, yeah, I'm done with that. And I was like, okay, I used to go to church. I went to church with my ex-wife and everything like that. I was like, let me just like try to see if I can find a church. And that's what I did. I found Calvary Chapel of Kendo, and I started going there, and that's where things started really, really changing in my life. I really had to start understanding what values were, what relationships were, what being on your own, letting God work in your life, all those different aspects, right? But it was that one pivotal moment on my birthday when I was 25 that completely changed my viewpoint of what am I really trying to achieve in this life. I'm going from job to job. I really didn't have a job at that time. I think I just finished starting a new job after lost the other one because I fractured my ankle, and I was, in bed for like 2 months without any pay or anything like that. And I'm like, I had to change something. I really, really did. And that was the pivotal, being stuck in bed for the entire day, feeling like complete crap, not wanting to eat, not wanting to do anything. That changed what I wanted to do. And I remember I posted up on Facebook and everything like that. And like, a couple other people like agreed with me and stuff like that too. It's like, yeah, like I want to change my life too.
Yeah.
So
we can
yeah,
this way, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. What has been one of your biggest lessons up to this point? What is one thing that you feel like, what, this is my biggest lessons that you've learned in your journey?
So one of the biggest things, and it spans for like years and years and years, is that I'm always the kind of person, I guess maybe because of the life situations, I'm always the kind of person that wants to keep everything to themselves, right? When I had Deem Design Studios, I had a very hard time letting go of work to other people, right? When I had Men's Physique News, I was the one doing all the YouTubes, all the posting, all the branding, all the websites, everything like that, because I had a hard enough time letting go of everything. Now that I'm in this whole coaching business, I'm learning that I have to start letting go, because I've always wanted something bigger for my life. I've always wanted to be, live financially free. I've always wanted to be able to provide very well for my family when I did have my family. I always wanted that. But I come to find out that I've been my own worst enemy and not letting other people work with me and handing things off to other people so that I could focus on trying to scale things. And that's a major, huge lesson that I'm learning, or have been learning for the past 6 months, trying to start this coaching program that I have right now.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, that's awesome. That's awesome. And definitely, I mean, I think it's funny how, right? It's difficult. I know for me, like even when I was working for corporate America, like I always wanted to do everything on my own, and it's like that feeling that, at least for me, is like, well, nobody can do it better than I can, so therefore
Yeah,
let me do it.
exactly.
And,
Exactly.
and you learn little by little that to be able to scale, to be able to just even allow you to do other things for your business, you have to be able to give some of those tasks away and allow people to kind of take over that. And sometimes, you might find the people that can do it better than you. Sometimes you find people that they're not going to be able to do it. Nevertheless, that's part of the process. That's part of, doing it and working through that. From that perspective, is definitely not an easy lesson to learn, right? In terms of that, but definitely is a
Yeah.
must when you're that. Obviously, I understand why you guys decided to kind of work on your own business and do your own thing, not working on the 9 to 5. How was that for you? Because I know there's a lot of people that want to step into the 9 to 5, want to be able to do that. However, there's that risk factor. You talked about being super high, having $8,000 a month or whatever, and then overnight, literally having $0. And so that roller coaster is not necessarily for everybody. I'm not knocking the 9 to 5. Nevertheless, though, is not an easy thing to do. And me, myself, being an entrepreneur, I've experienced that, that roller coaster, right? One day you're doing really good, and next day you're like crap, what am I doing? Kind of thing. And so, why decide to do, I guess, become an entrepreneur, knowing, or did you not know that it was going to be that way, we're gonna have those roller coasters.
Well, I didn't know about the roller coaster, so I wish somebody would have warned me about that because
Yeah,
man, when your lows are low, like they're low, but when your highs are high, they're super, super high, right?
right.
Yeah, nobody warned me about that, but like I always had it in my heart, that was like, man, I'm the kind of person that doesn't like to take orders. So
Mhm.
me being in a 9 to 5 job, it really sucked because I'm like, bro, like I want to be able to do this and I want to be able to go where I want to, whenever I want to, and that was always a constant struggle for me. um and I did try it once. I tried in 2008 when the economy collapsed. I totally went to one of my jobs. I'm like, you want me to do what? Like, you want me to double, you want me to double what we did last quarter, but we're going into a freaking depression and you want me to work more and for the same pay. And I'm like, no. So I left the job. I tried starting a little company called Meta Creations, which was like a printing and design company. That was like my first stab of like
Mhm.
entrepreneurship. That did not go well. that did not go well at all. Yeah, to the point that I had to move into my dad's house because of that. But um, and during that process, after that, I was like, I just need to find a job. I wasn't even thinking about like trying to start my own company and stuff like that. But when I got into the church, I felt like I had to start doing it again. Like I started getting that spirit because even though I loved the church, the hours were just insane. Like
Mhm.
I just didn't have a life, you know, and it was getting paid less than what I've been paid for any of my other jobs, right? Because you're doing service, right? So I wasn't able to financially um, keep myself afloat working there and busting the hours. So then that's why I was like, let me start doing my design work on the side. And when the design work started getting really, really good, like I started making really, really good money, I was like, okay, maybe I should leave. But that was like another extremely scary moment. In fact, I was like scared for like 3 months. I had about like $10,000 saved in the bank to cover like 3 months of my expenses. And I was like, man, I really don't want to touch that, but if I have to, I will. But I went on the journey, and it was really, really scary because it was a switch. I think people get comfortable with the fact that they could go someplace and they know they're going to get a definite check,
Mhm.
right? And I think that's the comfortability of it. But when I wasn't relying on that check and I wasn't getting in my car to go someplace every single day because I was working at home, that's where the adjustment really had to happen, right? Like really had to figure all this
Mhm.
stuff out on my own. And yeah, I mean, the first year that I did it, it went really, really great. And in fact, I was like, man, like I don't think life could get any better. I was traveling, I was doing, I was finally able to do the stuff that I was able to do. Then comes the next year, and then that's when things start getting rocky again.
Right.
But yeah, man, it takes a special kind of person to be able to do it. You have to be able to break from your comfort zone because everybody gets comfortable in the 9 to 5. And hey, yeah, I'm going to be going to work every single day. I'm going to be working because they're going to be paying me, and I know I'm going to be getting my paycheck. But you know, COVID's a great example that that doesn't last. The 9 to 5 doesn't last because I know people that have been working for companies for 20 years and they had to get let go.
Right.
So either way, would I take now personally that I look back at it, would I take a risk and go into a 9 to 5, or would I do the entrepreneurship no matter how hard it's been in my life? I think I will still take the entrepreneurship because I still get the freedom and I still get the time and I get to do what I want and with and live out my passions versus having to be stuck in a chair for somebody else making their money, right? I'm paying for their Corvette at the end of the year. I'm not paying for. So it's like I think you've heard that story. It's like the owner comes into the company meeting. He's driving his brand new Corvette. He's like, guys, hey, thank you so much, man. Because of you guys, I got this brand new Corvette. So let's do it again next year. Give me another Corvette, right?
Right.
Yeah, I didn't want to be that guy. I didn't want to be that guy, making that person money. I want to make my money and I wanted to be able to live that lifestyle. I want to be the guy at the door, nodding his head, pointing at the workers versus me being the worker and doing construction or whatever the case might be.
Right. And as you said, I mean, at the end of the day, it definitely takes a special type of person to be able to go through the ups and downs and go through that flow. Because again, it is not easy. It is not easy. It's a difficult task. It's a difficult journey. And that's why, you have to enjoy the journey more than the destination. Because, if you're not enjoying that journey, you're like, nah, man, I got to go back and get a job. You said something that really brought something to mind, and that's the idea of people are so uncomfortable or afraid of being uncomfortable to get comfortable, right? People have that
Yeah.
fear of being uncomfortable to get comfortable. People allow the fear to take away the opportunity that is in front of them because of X, Y, and
Mhm.
Z. And I think that when you're put in a situation where you're very uncomfortable, you either have two choices. You're either going to give in and you're going to end up, losing out, or you're going to break through and something great is going to happen, similar to what you were saying. I have 3 months worth of savings. I don't want to tap into that. Now you're going to have to put yourself in this very uncomfortable place, and either you're going to make it or you're going to not make it, right? And so I think that's
Yeah.
so critical. The other thing that I think I've learned through it, and I saw people very similar to you, where one of my loaner companies I was working at for almost 10 years, and I saw people at 20, 25 years being at the company getting laid off just because of age or whatever the case may be, and it was sad to see that, because when you're in a company for 20, 25 years, let's face it, companies want younger blood. I mean, that's the truth.
Mhm.
And so it's going to be harder for you to go out and get a job or get something um, uh, when you're older, right? And so
Mhm.
I saw people like that. And I'm thinking to myself, like, did I want to be that? Did I want to go through that? I saw people in one of my very first jobs, I had started working there. They were there for like 10, 15 years. And I'm like, did I want to be that person? So you got to be able to determine where do you
Mhm.
want to be in your journey. The other thing that I realized is that, funny as this may sound, people are more afraid of going into their job and saying, "Hey, I'm quitting." Okay, in other words, you're
Mhm.
planning to quit. You're planning to you're gonna take that leap of faith. You're gonna plan for that to quit. People are more afraid of doing that than going to work every day and then all of a sudden they get fired. I think they're more afraid of the known than the unknown, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
and
I think
yeah.
I think what happens is that people like the decisions to be made for them a
Mm,
lot of times, right? So I've been through it. Like that, me leaving the church job, that was such. It was like, oh my God, am I making the right choice? Am I doing this? But then if they would have gone like, oh yeah, no, we're letting you go today. I'm like, okay, screw you, I'm going. Like
exactly. Right.
because you made the choice. It's the same thing like when
Mm,
you see somebody in a very bad relationship. It's like they shouldn't be together, but until one breaks the ice, you won't, because you're always going to be living in that circumstance, because you don't want to break it, because you're already comfortable, no matter how bad it really gets inside of that situation.
yeah, that definitely makes a lot of sense for sure. Um, Eddie, if people wanted to connect with you, know more about your network marketing or coaching, where can they find you?
So I have my website up. It's Eddy Miranda, EDDYMIRANDA. That is so you guys could find out more information about what I provide for my coaching. You guys could also find me on social media on Instagram. It's the same Eddy, but with my middle initial D Miranda, so EDDYDMIRANDA. And you can also find me on Facebook as well as Eddy Miranda Original.
Awesome.
Yeah, so those are basically the major spots of where I'm at right now.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. And then what is next for you? What are some of the things that you're working, I guess, through the end of 2021? Obviously, a lot of people coming out of 2020 and into 2021. There's a lot of people that are still kind of clueless in terms of that. Any things you're working on that might be able to inspire some people?
Yeah, so I mean, I'm really working. I'm doing a brand new startup business with the coaching, right? So basically, I definitely want it to be in a position that I'll be able to help. I mean, my goal is to be able to help at least 250 network marketers by the end of the year. I think that's a pretty good goal. and to start making an impact, like, you know, doing speaking engagements and things like that, because I feel, because of my background and the things, the situations that I've been through, that I could resonate with a lot of people. And you know, the best way to be able to do that is to be able to speak, you know, on stage, or to be able to go to events and things like that. So I want to be able to broaden my horizons and broaden my reach more than what I am right now. You know, and basically, for me and my wife too, is to, you know, we're already at a very achieved level inside of the business,
Mhm.
but we want to be able to get to the top level of the business, and start becoming legitimate top earners inside of the business as well. So those are you know, basically the goals that we have is, you know, scale the coaching to 250 people, get more exposure with events and with speaking, and reach the overarching goal inside of our network marketing business of getting to the top level and helping out as many people as possible.
Oh, that's awesome, man. That's awesome. Last question I have for you is, for the people that are watching and or listening to us, if they are going through any kind of challenge, whatever challenge that might be, what is one advice that you can give them so they can overcome that challenge?
Oh, it's a no-brainer. Something I've learned is that you always need an outside perspective, right? We could be going through a challenge and we're so engulfed in the challenge that we lose sight of our surroundings and what we can accomplish. Getting somebody like a coach or a mentor to give a legitimate outside perspective about what's going on, and somebody that's already been through those hurdles before you, is complete key. You know, that's what's changed my business, is when I got my coach. You know, and I always relate it to bodybuilding as well. It's like, you know, try stepping on stage in a bodybuilding competition without a coach,
Mhm.
right? It just won't work, because you can't see what's happening to your body. You don't know the foods, how it's reacting to you, because you look at your circumstance every single day. But when you have a coach that comes in and sees, like, hey, this is what's happening with your body, this is what we need to do in order to change it, and this is the action steps that we need to do in moving forward. um you know, it goes the same way with everything in life. You know, you're in these challenges, you're stuck inside these challenges, you have your tunnel vision,
Mhm.
and you need somebody to come in to bring light to your situation. You know, again, I have accountability partners, I have coaches, you know, coaches for different aspects of what I do in my business now, that I've become more and more successful, because you're always looking at the small piece when everybody else is looking with everything around you. And I think that that's key.
Awesome, awesome, man. I love that. I love that. Um, just, you know what, one thing that I see is like you're very focused, and there's a lot of different things. Obviously, you've gone through a lot of different things, and you're definitely have a good head over your shoulders. So maybe one last question is, are there any, Tony Robbins refers to them as rituals. Are there any habits or rituals that you do on a day-to-day basis to keep you in this positive mindset?
Yeah, so I do hardcore meditation in the morning. So I wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning. I do cardio, you know, fasted cardio, and I'm either reading a book or listening to affirmations,
Mm,
right? When I'm doing that. Once I'm done with my cardio, I sit down and meditate for about 30 minutes. That's one of the coaches that have, a meditation coach. So he's been helping me out with that. And then on top of that, I write, you know, I'll show it to you. Every single morning, I write down my affirmations, my goals, and what I'm grateful for. Right. So I do that every single morning. And, you know, I've noticed the days that I don't do that, have a really, really bad day mentally.
mhm.
Right. But the days that I do this, my mind's sharp and I'm ready to go. And I'm, so that is very, very key, is like to have a very, a good morning routine that could put you in a really, really positive mindset to get you ready for the rest of the day.
Boom. There you have it, guys. That's awesome, man. I love that. I love that. Definitely, gotta it creates some sort of habits and or discipline on a day-to-day basis to help you in your own life and in your own journey. So, Eddie, man, thank you so much. I really enjoyed this conversation with you. Thank you for being here. Anything else before I let you go?
No, man, that's it, man. Again, thank you so much for having me. It's been a true pleasure. And it's had me tap into a lot of stuff that I didn't think I was going to talk into today. But
Yeah, that's awesome, man. That's awesome. I appreciate that. Well, Eddie, thank you again for being here. And for the rest of you guys, do me a favor. Please make sure that you check out Eddie. Go check out his website. Connect with him on social media. He can definitely be someone that can help you in your own journey. And check me out on any of your favorite podcasts. You Can Overcome Anything podcast show. And stay tuned for the next episode of this podcast. Bye.
Hi, I'm Cesar Espino, real estate investor, business coach, and consultant, and author of the book, You Can Overcome Anything, Even When the World Says No. My number is 424-501-6046. In my book, I talk about making the necessary changes to shift your mind for prosperity and certainty. Pick up your copy at Amazon. I also love helping families with their real estate and can purchase your house fast and all cash. Follow me on Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn. My number is 424-501-6046.
Thank you for having me today. I am so glad you've tuned into this podcast. You can find me at your favorite podcast platform where you can like, subscribe, comment, and share. And to learn more about myself, my services, you can find me at www.CesarRespino.com, or you can also find me at your social media. Thanks for joining me, and I am looking forward to having you at the next episode. And know you truly can overcome anything.